Now, you won't ever find a gamer who doesn't love stumbling across an Easter egg. The nature of video games as a free-flowing, exploratory art form gives developers the ability to hide clever references and sneaky surprises for only the luckiest and most dedicated to discover. And then it goes without saying that said discoveries will make their way online in record time. Now, the overwhelming majority of video game Easter eggs are either silly jokes, wink-wink references, or intriguing expansions of the franchise lore, but sometimes they're made with one major goal in mind, and that is to confuse the hell out of everyone who finds them. Now, we've already done 10 of these, and we're back with 10 more. As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 more video game Easter eggs that nobody understands. Number 10, the Hidden Marine, Halo Combat Evolved. Now, the Halo franchise is no stranger to oddball, head-scratching Easter eggs, and the original game featured a peculiar secret that continues to baffle over 20 years later. You see, at the start of the level 343 Guilty Spark, players can cause a glitch by throwing a plasma grenade whilst on board the Pelican. Doing so will allow you to stay on the ship as it flies off, eventually resulting in you being dropped from the Pelican outside of the level's bounds. Now, if you wander around in the foggy abyss for a while, you'll eventually find a solitary Marine, modelled after infantryman Private Mendoza, standing eerily still. If you're so inclined, you're free to shoot and kill him, perhaps in an attempt to free him from this rather ominous prison. But in 2011's anniversary remake, the Easter egg remains due to the remake being built upon the original game's foundations, except this time the Marine is hilariously positioned behind a tree, making him a little trickier to spot. It's been theorized that Bungie may have just wanted to load Mendoza's character model at the start of the level before he appears later on, and the outer bounds area of the map was a safe way to do so whilst concealing his presence from the player. But of course, players will always find a way to get behind the curtain and see how the sausage is made. Number 9, The Guy and the Goat, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. When people say that Tony Hawk is the GOAT, this probably isn't what they meant. From Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 through to Tony Hawk's Proving Ground, you can find goats inexplicably hidden around the map. Now, that's pretty weird, but it gets weirder when the vast majority of the time, said goats are accompanied by a man that stands quite suspiciously by them, often behind them even. That the man and the goat are typically in a secluded area only makes it that much more suspect, and while we can't say for sure that there's something untoward going on here, that certainly seems to be the game's implication. In one instance, you'll find a guy dancing in front of a seated goat in his apartment, and in another, the offending man stares at the goat's rear and is actually a cop. It's certainly consistent with the series' rather juvenile sense of humor per its primarily teenage target audience, but one still has to ask, why? Number 8, Lumiose City Ghost, Pokemon X and Y. Now, Pokemon fans remain both utterly transfixed and totally creeped out by Pokemon X and Y's legendary Lumiose City Ghost Easter egg. If you explore Lumiose City and enter the second floor of a certain building, the screen will fade to black before returning with a mysterious purple-haired girl appearing behind you totally out of nowhere. The girl then moves around you by floating off the ground before cryptically saying, "No, you're not the one," and then disappearing into the ether. A decade since X and Y's release, fans are still speculating on what this spectral girl's presence actually means, namely who she might be waiting for and why Nintendo included something so spine-chillingly eerie in a Pokemon game of all things. One popular theory is that she might be programmed to speak only to a specific trainer ID, but the mystery hasn't ever been addressed in any official, concrete capacity whatsoever. Number 7, Zohar, Saints Row. Now, the Saints Row games are admittedly an extended exercise in throwing logic to the wind and just having a silly, nonsensical time, and that evidently extends to their Easter eggs as well, given the wildly unexpected reference that showed up in last year's reboot. If you ventured to Kavanaugh County and take a look amongst the mountains, you just might come across a strange, shiny relic that somewhat resembles the monolith from 2001: A Space Odyssey, except it's gold here, not black. To the majority of players, this artifact is completely mystifying, and even if you know what it's referencing, the picture doesn't actually get much clearer. As it turns out, this is the Zohar, a source of power featured in cult RPG franchise Xeno, which began with 1998 Xenogears and led to the modern Xenoblade Chronicles games. Even if you impressively caught the reference, it's still totally baffling that a Western AAA action game would feature a nod to a comparatively niche JRPG series, which originated an entire quarter-century ago. Now, there are many games where it would make sense to see Zohar, but Saints Row? Not a chance. Evidently, somebody on that game's staff was definitely a fan. Number 6, Live Exorcism in Progress, Hitman 2. Ever since its inception, the Hitman franchise has served up Easter eggs that dabble in the surreal and even straight-up supernatural, though perhaps none of the series' secrets have proven quite as creepy as Hitman 2's live exorcism. In the game's Miami level, head to the aquarium and, just above the shark exhibit, you'll see a red hallway with an android dummy hanging up and the sign "Live Exercise in Progress." However, if you whip out your sniper rifle, you'll see that the text has been messily altered to read "Live Exorcism in Progress," while the android can be seen turning its head and moving its limbs. Keep watching until the dummy stops moving, and when you exit your sniper rifle's scope, the dummy will have disappeared from the hallway. And that's because if you turn around, you'll find it standing directly behind you, in what's nothing if not a fantastically executed jump scare, minus a cheap tension cord, thankfully. Number 5. UFO abducting a cow. Gran Turismo 7. The Gran Turismo franchise might paint itself as a thoroughly serious racing simulator beyond compare, but it's evidently still got time for an eyebrow-raising Easter egg or two. Using the game's photo mode, you're able to find a bevy of hidden visuals concealed around the tracks, such as the SpaceX rocket, monkeys, bears, kangaroos, and even Nessie the Loch Ness Monster. But the strangest of the lot can be found on Mount Panorama. You first need to drive to a specific part of the track overlooking a grassy hill, and if you wait there for 10 minutes, a UFO will fly into the sky, deploy a beam, and suck something up before flying off. And using the photo mode, you can get a closer glimpse at both the UFO and its victim, which, as it turns out, is a poor helpless cow. Beyond the developers simply having some fun during development, it is a total head-scratcher. I mean, more to the point, why the hell do aliens always take cows? Calcium deficiency, perhaps? Number 4. Maggot Face. Soma. Now, Soma is one hell of a trippy game, but even so, there's a uniquely stomach-churning surprise waiting for players who decide to tinker around with its developer mode. During the hallucination in Simon's apartment, his love interest Ashley can be seen stood by a window, but she never shows her face to the player throughout this sequence. Now, curious players have used Soma's dev mode to manipulate the camera in order to take a better look at Ashley, only to be met with a rather terrible surprise. You see, her face is covered in maggots. It's been suggested that developers' frictional games might have simply repurposed Ashley's character model from a scrap sequence in an earlier version of the game, where she would have appeared before Simon during a nightmare with, you guessed it, maggots covering her face. Either way, it only adds a further layer of discomfort to the game, that even when you're empowered with the developer's own tools, they can still find a way to mess with you. Number 3. The Talking Space Cock. Dying Light 2, Stay Human. Dying Light 2 goes full-on random with this secret side quest that you can uncover in the newfound Lost Lands. In Colonel Williams' fortress, you're able to navigate a series of secret pathways to find a doorway with a chicken poster on the outside. Go in and you'll be greeted by a caged hen with a prompt to talk to it. The hen will then talk back to the player in a scarcely coherent mumble, where it proclaims that its appearance as a hen is merely a disguise. Rather, the creature is Brunek, a space cock which came to Earth to wipe out the human race due to them greedily depleting the planet's resources, but gave up when the zombie plague took hold. He needs you to help him find a spaceship part so he can leave Earth, and doing so will result in him disappearing from his cage in a burst of electricity. However, he'll leave behind a rather special treat, a charmed weapon called the Pan of Destiny, basically a frying pan which returns you to wherever you throw it, just like Thor's trusty hammer Mjolnir. Now, all of that is well and good, but good luck trying to make any sense of this. Number 2. Who Wants Toast? Gears of War 2. As seriously as the Gears of War franchise generally takes itself, even this series is not afraid to get silly every now and again. And this is best evidenced by the totally surreal appearance of an everyday household object in one of the game's later levels. In Act 4's The Best Laid Plans, you'll come across an area filled with pillars and a block-like object in the middle. Shoot the block and it will break away to reveal a toaster. Not just any toaster though, but a locust toaster, which has 2 slices of bread sticking out and is even adorned with their emblem for some reason. And because the visual of a bunch of locusts crowding around this toaster to grill some bread in the morning isn't bizarre enough, Marcus then says that he was looking for this. Better yet, you're able to use the toaster to toast the bread, which will soon enough start burning to a crisp before Marcus loudly asks his teammates who wants toast. I mean, everybody's going to eat human or locust, but this is just weird. And number 1, gnomes are always watching you. Power Wash Simulator. So Power Wash Simulator is just about the last game that you'd expect to be unsettling, yet it still somehow managed it. And this stems from the fact that every single one of the game's maps contains at least one strategically placed ornamental gnome, which doesn't sound so bad, right? Well, except that each is positioned to be creepily watching you whilst you go about completing your task. Some are incredibly easy to spot, while others are fiendishly hidden around the environment, such as by distant trees freeze, which gives the impression that they're actually alive and surreptitiously watching you to ensure that you do a good job cleaning. To date, no player has found the gnomes moving around, but don't be shocked if a patch changes that at some point. For now though, rest easy that no matter how viscerally terrifying the little porcelain guys are every time they show up, they're still confined to stillness. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 more video game Easter eggs that nobody understands. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comment section below. As always, I've been Jules, and you can go follow me over on Instagram, where it's @RetroJ, but the O is a 0, and you can check out all the Warhammer miniatures that I've been painting. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. I hope you treat yourself well with love and respect, my friends, because you deserve all of the best things in life, alright? Like love, happiness, and success. And do not let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise, alright? You're a massive ledge, and I want you to go out there and utterly smash it today. As always, I've been Jules, you have been awesome, never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.